Welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news, updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We're targeting 4,700 subscribers. Lots to get into today. Of course, the bad news last night, Gabriel Jesus is injured. Mikel Arteta after the game said, unfortunately, he's had a little procedure this morning. He had some discomfort in his knee, and that has been causing some issues that they had to go in and resolve. It's nothing major, but he's going to be out for a few weeks, I think. Now, that sounded bad. How long is a few weeks? How long is a piece of string? But it may not be as bad as we first thought. So one of these Twitter accounts that kind of feels like it's in the loop a lot of the time, gets a lot of bits of information here and there, said, providing everything goes well, Gabriel Jesus should be in the squad for the Crystal Palace game. Now, the Crystal Palace game's on the 21st of August, so less than 3 weeks away. Is that possible? Potentially. So apparently the surgery that he had is called arthroscopic surgery, which is like keyhole surgery in the knee. It's just a small incision. They go in, they clear some debris out, which was from his original knee surgery, and there's some inflammation and irritation that he's had, and that should go down. Now, according to the NHS, that can take 2 to 6 weeks to heal, but it's the sort of operation where if you went and had it done today, you'd be released on the same day. So it's not like a major surgery. Now, when the NHS are talking about recovery time, they're not talking about playing in the Premier League. So whilst after, 2 or 3 weeks, I might be able to walk up and down the stairs, I don't even have any stairs. I can't afford a property with stairs. I could walk up and down the other end of the flat. Gabriel Jesus might not be able to play at a professional level of football. But hopefully, I mean, if he's back by Crystal Palace, that would be great. That would be, 4 games? Not even 4 games. Without him. But in the meantime, what do we do? What do we do? Now, on following Balogun as an option, Arteta said the plan with Flo does not change at all, which presumably means we're still trying to sell him. And on that, where could he go? Well, Alex Crook from TalkSport said if Arsenal are to open offers, West Ham will want to be in the conversation. And for me, West Ham is a great option. They've got lots of money. We know they've got lots of money. And they're getting embarrassed in the transfer market at the moment. Player after player, we hear that they're in for, and then it falls apart. They've just had that Carlos Borges stolen from Ajax that they were trying to sign from Man City. So it's one of those where how many times can you go in for a player and pull out? They can't do it many more times. They need to save face. And so, it's a good move for Balogun, keeps him in the Premier League. That could be where we see him go. And that wouldn't be bad. It really wouldn't be bad. In terms of who replaces Gabriel Jesus, well, it's between Nketiah and Trossard. Nketiah, for me, last night, he had his best game in pre-season. It was his best pre-season performance so far. I thought not just his goal, which was a classic Nketiah goal, that poacher's finish. I actually thought a lot of his build-up play was good. He was dropping deep. He took the ball off Ramsdale a few times and spread it wide, which was good. He was aggressive. He was everything that you kind of expect from Nketiah. But for me, I think Trossard deserves the chance to start. I was actually considering whether I would start Trossard over Martinelli, just based on how they've been in pre-season. I thought Martinelli was a lot sharper last night, but Trossard's been arguably our star of pre-season. And if he doesn't get to start now, when does he? So for me, his link-up play is better with Martinelli and Saka and Ødegaard as well. And I just feel like you get more out of him. You get more goal contributions per game, per minute played with Trossard. And so that is probably the option that I would go for at the start of the season until Gabriel Jesus is back. Now, what Arteta also said about Jesus was, let me just find it, that it's a big blow because we had him back to his best. The way he played against Barcelona, he was in good condition, and we've lost him. And interestingly, he said he's been feeling some discomfort in the last weeks. We had to look at it and make a decision. Now, if he's been feeling it for weeks, why wait until you're basically a week out from the start of the Premier League to have a look at it? If he was feeling it several weeks ago, surely you have a look then. So that if this needed to happen, it could have happened during the summer. I don't know. I'm not the medical expert. But he's right. It is a shame because Gabriel Jesus was really sort of hitting form again. And this will maybe be a slight knock to that. But hopefully, if it is only 3 weeks or so, it shouldn't be anywhere near the drop-off that we saw when he was coming back from that big injury layoff last season. So, fingers crossed for Gabriel Jesus. On to a couple of, interesting bits of transfer news, I guess. Austin Trusty completed, done deal. Sheffield United have announced him, and like I said, I think that's a great deal all round. Arsenal make a profit. That's an example of business that we can do in the future, and I think it's a good signing for Sheffield United. I think he's a solid player for £5 million, and it's great for him. He's got himself, what should be a regular starting spot at a Premier League team. So that's that. Marquinhos, obviously we talked about the fact that he was going to be going to Olympiacos on loan and that was close to completion, but Nantes have come in, the French team, I never know how to pronounce it, Nantes, they've come in and tried to hijack it. This came from Ryan Taylor. Nantes are trying to hijack Olympiacos' loan deal for Arsenal winger Marquinhos. Agreement was in the final stages, but it appears that late intervention from the French club could change the picture. There are also 3 or 4 Italian clubs that are interested in Marquinhos, so it looks like he's going to get a good move on loan regardless, and I guess we'll see where he goes. One other thing I wanted to talk about, Tomiyasu or Kieran Tierney. Not something I thought I would be talking about. At the start of the summer, I thought it was probably nailed on that Kieran Tierney would go, Tomiyasu would stay. Obviously, I mentioned just yesterday Fabrizio Romano coming out and saying that Tomiyasu is in the regular plans for Arsenal moving forwards, assuming that we don't go out and buy another defender. But if you were to base it on pre-season and pre-season alone, Kieran Tierney's had a far better pre-season than Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu's looked off the pace. Yesterday, again, I thought he was poor. In an attacking sense, he wasn't offering anything. I know he had Fabio Vieira ahead of him, and as a combination, that partnership was awful. But truthfully, Tomiyasu doesn't offer that much going forwards. He's really conservative. Whenever he gets the ball, he looks back inside and backwards and looks to feed the ball back in that way. He's nowhere near as good as any of the other fullbacks that we have in an attacking sense. And yesterday, he looked quite shaky defensively as well. And so that brings into question, do you need Tierney or Tomiyasu? And for me, how often would I utilise Tomiyasu? Only really if we get multiple injuries in the same position. His versatility is very good. It's very useful. But we've got players like Yuri and Timber that can play anywhere across the back line now. And so for me, Tierney offers something very different in an attacking sense. And also, I think he's learning and developing that Zinchenko-style role very well. I saw there was a reverse pass on his right foot through to Nketiah that was very Zinchenko-esque. He is learning. He is getting better. And I do just wonder whether we would be better off keeping Tierney and selling Tomiyasu, which didn't feel like would be something that we'd do at the start of summer. But I do think if either of them were to go, on form, I'd rather it was Tomiyasu. I feel like potentially his lack of game time over the last 18 months has really set him back, and the squad has progressed and he's not progressed with it, so we'll see on that. And then finally, I wanted to talk about this Ramsdale interview. If you've not seen it, look it up, type in Aaron Ramsdale Players Tribune. He did a sort of interview article with them, and it's quite enlightening. One very sad section of the interview was about the fact that after the World Cup, he went on holiday with his wife. He had a short break, went on holiday with his wife. They had just found out that she was pregnant. He said it was the happiest time of his life. And very sadly, on the flight home, she had a miscarriage. And the crazy thing is that a few days after that, Arsenal played Tottenham, away at Tottenham. And Ramsdale had an unbelievable game, kept a clean sheet, got kicked by that Tottenham fan, if you remember. And I just think it's really important to just acknowledge that we never know what's going on behind closed doors. No one would have had any idea that Ramsdale was even going through anything off the pitch. And people have said since Christmas time, since the World Cup, the last 6 months, Ramsdale hasn't been at his best, that, some of his distribution has been poor. And again, not necessarily blaming what was going on at home for that, but it's probably a factor, and you would never have known it. And you think the sort of criticism and abuse that he's getting when he's got that going on at home as well, it's just sad. It is sad, and it makes you think twice. And look, I'm as guilty as anyone of criticising players, and I guess there's a fine line between sort of just objective criticism and then slander and hate that the players just don't need and they shouldn't get. And yeah, it was just a good interview. He also talks about, I think his brother is homosexual, and he talks about how important it is that, and how far football still has to go with regards to the sort of hatred that he still sees, and he still doesn't feel comfortable bringing his brother to football and stuff like that. And he also just talks about the general squad, what it was like last season to miss out on the title, but the fact that the general feeling in the club is that of progress. You know, we've gone from 8th to 5th to 2nd, and I just think it's a very good, insightful interview to read, and probably lets you in on some insights and understanding of his mentality with the whole David Raya situation. There's nothing new on David Raya's situation. Obviously, I'll update you if we get it. But anyway, that is the end of the video. Go and check out that article. Please do subscribe if you're not already. There won't be a live stream tonight. It is me and my girlfriend's anniversary, so we're going out for a nice meal. And I'll be back tomorrow. There will be a live stream tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening. That was a long-winded ending, and goodbye.